We just finished the executive session. There's no items out of executive session. Now it's our regular meeting called to order. I'm going to start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag, to the republic. Honor the Texas flag. We have start off with citizens and parent comments. Before we start this, last week's meeting was very eventful, but the rules are that during citizen comments, you get to speak for 3 minutes, and you come up to the podium and you speak into the mic. You don't make comments from the gallery. Last week's meeting had a few items such as that. With that said, you can speak during, if there's a public hearing, you can speak on matters regarding the public hearing, but you have to come up to the mic. You can't shout from the audience. As a whole, I'd like to apologize for the meeting last week. It was, it's not the way it should be. A town of Westlake meeting should not be like that. And we've hopefully taken the steps necessary to ensure that doesn't happen again. And I appreciate it very much. With that said, I'd like to go on to the citizen parent comments. Citizen and parent comments. We have one sheet given to me with 3 names on it. Mr. Joseph Benola, Kristen Benola, and Isabella Benola. And Joe, do you want to come up and do your little 3-minute comment? Give your name and your address.
Hello, Dr. Joe Benola, 1800 Barrington, Roanoke, also a landowner in Westlake. I just wanted to make sure that everybody knows that we're the ones that are going to keep the 15 to 16 acres, lot 1 in our subdivision, and we intend to build our family home. My wife, Kristen, myself, and my 14-year-old daughter, Isabel. And, of course, we strongly approve of what we've put together and what our team has put together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Amy, did anyone else fill out, or is this the only one? Okay. All right. Thank you. Moving on to the next item, items of community interest.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Hello, everybody. Just a couple of quick items here to go over for you guys. It won't take up too much of your time. We're going to start off with this Friday is the Chamber event sponsored Alliance Development Forum. That's obviously the big thing that goes on, hugely widely attended at the Tucson Motor Speedway, and that's from 11 to 1. I sent out the invites to you guys. If you do want to attend and haven't been able to get back to me because I know you guys have been awfully busy, just let me know and I'll submit those names first thing in the morning. But it's a great event, and I hope you guys can all come out. The next coffee and conversation is going to be on Tuesday, March 7th, from 8 to 9:30 at Sip Stir Coffee here in Westlake. Westlake Academy Spring Break is from March 13th through the 17th, and actually I believe they have the 10th off as well, so well-deserved rest for those guys. Our next planning and zoning meeting will be on a Tuesday, March 14th at 5 o'clock, and again, that's a change from now on. Those planning and zoning meetings will be on Tuesdays from now on. A couple of other items that I wanted to bring to you guys' attention. Our next Westlake Wire will be going out tomorrow to all Westlake residents. We're going to introduce our brand new finance director, Casey, so welcome. Also, we're going to recap some of the items that happened this evening. And then, of course, we're going to send out some more of the videos that we've been doing. Our excellent communications manager, Aaron Spicer, has been putting together some great videos, kind of educational stuff that's going on around town. So we're going to put those in there as well. Some great news. We settled on a couple of dates for the spring concerts. It's going to be on April 6th and the 20th. We're still working on a couple of different bands that we're choosing from on the 6th. But on the 20th is going to be Texas High Road, fantastic band. They're oftentimes featured at Billy Bob, so we're lucky to have those guys, and that's going to be once again over at the Solana Terrace, Solana Plaza, right across the street. We have a new residents meeting that we just settled on today. That's going to be on March 28th from 6 to 8. This is a fantastic event. where you have the opportunity to meet all the new residents from the last year of 2022 and in the first few months of 2023 as well. We expect pretty good crowd, and that's going to be right over across the hall here at the Solana or the Terra Lounge is what it's called. So it should be a pretty good turnout, and it's great. And I sent out an invitation to all of you guys today. So just let me know if you're able to attend. But again, it's going to be a lot of fun to meet a lot of new residents as well. And then finally, some fantastic news out of the Academy, where our Lady Blacksmiths varsity basketball team won the state championship.
Yes.
They knocked off the reigning champs, which was huge. Coach Burrows and Coach Sunday, congratulations to them and their team. And very special, we're going to honor those guys, I believe, on March 27th here at a council meeting. We're going to have them. I was speaking with Coach Ponder, so they're going to come by and get their due. So congratulations to them, indeed. Those are your items of community interest.
All right, thanks, John.
Yes, sir.
All right, moving on to the consent agenda. Does anyone see anything on the consent they want to talk about?
No, not for me.
Tim? No?
I do not.
Anna? Tim? No? All right. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda? Can I get it first?
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None? Motion carries. We're going to move on to the public hearing section. We're going to do a public hearing, conduct a public hearing, considering approving Resolution 23-12 for a replat of Block J, Lot 1, Westlake Edition, Westlake Entrada Edition. Ron, you're here. Ron. Surprise me. I'm looking down.
So briefly, this is a replat of Block J, Lot 1 to create 7 single-family lots in the Entrada development. This lines up with the development plan, the approved development plan in Entrada. This is the western side of the development, where a lot of these lots were already accounted for in the development plan. But what they did is platted the blocks initially, and they're coming back to actually subdivide those blocks into the lots to conform with the development plan. Staff recommends approval, and the developer's here to answer any questions.
Ron, this just follows into the overall development plan.
Yes, sir.
Are there any questions? No. All right. Anything else? All right, let's open up to a public hearing. Any comments or concerns regarding this matter? Close the public hearing. Can I get a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion. Resolution
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, let's move on to the next. Conduct a public hearing and consider approving Resolution 23-13 for a replat of Block L, Lot 1, Westlake Entrada Edition.
So this one is just to create an open space lot. This is the bridge that goes across from basically where the plaza site's supposed to be, across to the restaurant area where we've got the Dahlia coming in. I believe that the other one is the Hugo's Invitados. So what we're doing is just carving off a lot just for this open space. Conforms to the development plan. More of a house complete.
Any questions?
Recommend approval.
We're going to open a public hearing. Any comments? Close the public hearing. Okay, motion to approve.
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
And second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Finally, we're going to go to conduct a public hearing and consider adopting Ordinance 963, approving PD site for approximately 0.729 of an acre portion of Planned Development District 3, Planning Area 11, PD 3-11, established by Ordinance 593. The PD site plan is for Dutch Brothers Coffee to be located along west side of U.S. Highway 377, north of U.S. Highway 170. Ron, show us.
All right, so this is a site plan request for Dutch Brothers Coffee to be located just on the north side of the Specs liquor store. You've got Quick Trip at the hard corner of 170 and 377.
Move the slides.
Actually, I'm going to have the
He was
applicant
ahead
come
of
up
slide.
and go through the slideshow for you so they can kind of go through some details. But actually, I can move the slide. This just shows you the elevations of the building. This is not going to be a dine-in building. It's strictly drive-through and walk-up. So we went through them with the design requirements. This property right now is owned by Hillwood. So we just what we're looking at is compliance with our ordinance requirements and also the PD requirements. The Circle T branch has its own kind of mother PD, has its own development regulation. So they're requesting 3 minor variances to parking, landscaping, and lighting. So the only people parking here will generally be employees. There's overflow parking next door at Specs. We don't have any issue with these variances. These are actually typical types of variances you get with these types of sites. And we did work with them extensively on the building design. Addressed all of our comments from the town architect and from staff. So we recommend approval with the conditions that are contained in the proposal. The applicant is here as well to answer any questions. Go through the presentation.
Ron, did this all go through planning and zoning?
Yes, sir.
Review this?
They recommended approval.
All of, I'm going to assume everything.
Yes, sir.
And on the concessions that are being made, is there any pushback from neighboring tenants about what was being asked for or proposed?
No, sir.
Okay.
Any other questions? You guys want to hear a briefing from the applicant?
I guess I have one question. Do we do, and for our new finance director, as I'm still learning this, do we do projections on their sales, what impact it will be?
Not at this time. We've talked about that. We just don't have a formal process in place yet to do that.
One thing I would hope we get in place at some point.
Definitely.
Ron, is this a franchise or a factory? I know they're publicly traded. Is this a corporate store or franchise?
I'm going to let the applicant.
Any other questions? All right. Can I open up a public hearing here? Any comments or concerns? Close the public hearing. Any motion to approve?
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
Any
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Motion carries.
Glad you're coming to Westlake. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. We appreciate it. Now we want to table the next one. Is that what it is, Ron?
What's that?
Is the next one we're going to table?
Yes, sir.
All right. Amy, do we need to do a formal motion on this, or do I? Yeah. All right. Can I get a motion to table ordinance 964 to the March 27th meeting?
I'll make a motion to table ordinance.
All right. Can I get a second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right. Ordinance 965, conduct a public hearing and consider adopting 965, approving a zoning change request for the R5 Country Residential District to Planned Development District Number 9, PD9, for 37.514 acres of land located in the southwest corner of Pearson Lane and Dove Road, to include primarily single-family residential uses, including a request for approval of a concept and plan development plan and specific use permit for private streets.
All right, so I'm going to be very brief on this and kind of do a very high-level overview. The applicants here, they have a detailed presentation and can also kind of go into some of the more particular development. Briefly, this is 37.5 acres at the southwest corner of Pearson Lane, Dove Road. This is zoned R5 right now, so that means minimum lot size of 5 acres. Comprehensive plan, it talks about this area as being in the pastoral district. It means that the character of the development needs to be very rural feeling, maintain as much of the natural environment as you can. So what they're proposing to do is just create 17 lots on this 37-acre piece of property, and one of the lots would be 16 acres, a very large lot, and that's where the current resident would put their new home on the kind of the western portion of the development. So the minimum lot size of these homes would be 1 acre. The minimum home size would be 4,500 square feet. There would be, basically on the comprehensive plan, again, it recommends a pastoral type of character for this district with minimum lot sizes of 1 acre or a maximum density of 1 acre. Go with smaller lot sizes like you saw with Westlake Ranch, but provide more amenities. In this case, they're going with minimum lot sizes of 1 acre. They're proposing to do not dedicate very much open space, not waive the parkland dedication, but since it's only a half-acre requirement for parkland dedication, we're talking about 17. they want to be able to pay a fee, kind of work through with the development agreement. So the comments we had really had more to do with design. A lot of trees on the property, a lot of natural tree clusters. Again, it's a very beautiful piece of property. So we wanted it to look as rural as possible along Pearson Lane and Dove Road. So they expanded the area between Internal Road and Pearson Lane. Internal Road is going to be a private street. And they're also going to add landscape easements on the lots where touch zones, where existing vegetation would be planted back there. Also, so we did a comprehensive plan analysis, and it generally lines up with the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan doesn't lay out real specific parameters. It just kind of broad brush strokes. It kind of gives you a vision of what. So we're recommending approval with the conditions you've got in the ordinance in front of you. And the applicants here, some additional detail with the council. That I'll be glad to answer.
Is there a slide to show what the layout is?
Yes, I'm going to have them come up and go through their slideshow.
Yes, sir. Okay. I won't talk long. Good evening, Council and Mayor. My name is Eason Makis. I represent Hat Creek Development, the applicant in this project. Tonight, we're just requesting a zoning change from R5 to a PD with 17 estate lots. My planner, Curtis Young's here, along with our civil and a couple other details, and I'll stand by to answer any questions that you may have.
Good evening, Council. My name is Curtis Young with the Sage Group. Be happy to answer any questions that you may have as I go through this. I'll try to be brief, but I'd be happy to get into any detailed questions you have as we go along. As Ron mentioned, the property is currently zoned R5, but as you can see with the adjacent zonings, there's R1 on the east side and R2 on the west side, so a change to less than half a unit per acre density is, we believe, certainly in keeping with the area just from a density, land use, lot size point of view. Here's the property. You can see there's scattered trees on it, some open areas. We spent a considerable amount of time on the property looking at the trees, trying to understand where they were and how we could work around them to the extent possible, how we could use them to provide buffers and things to either lots each other or to the people driving by on Pearson or Dove. The site is 37.5 acres. Of course, we have Pearson Lane on our east side and Dove Road along the north, with the intersection in our northeast corner. Across the street is the Wick Hill development, 1 to 2 acre lots in there. So I think what we're doing is keeping with that. To the south are 1.5 acre lots in the city of Keller, and to the west, across the drainage, is the Page Brook development that I'm sure you're familiar with, 2 acre plus lots. One of them's larger than that. Here is the plan that we came up with, and the idea here is to provide a visual buffer with the trees that exist along Pearson Lane, but to behind that buffer have a street that then the lots behind that street would front and look toward Pearson Lane through that grouping of trees. And the idea here is, generally, even with 3 million and up homes, the best nice-looking part of the home is the front. So the thought here is that we would get a screen view of really the great architecture that we hope to build there between that as you go through there. And then there would be walls near the intersection in the northeast corner and in the southwest or southeast corner, and then along the southern boundary. And adjacent to those existing homes in Keller. And then the road will, of course, southern area go along the south there with lots on either side of it with a cul-de-sac, accessing the large lot that's 16 acres that will be retained by the original property owner for the building of their home. It will also, of course, have access to Dove Road to the north, and may even have its main entry off of Dove Road, but it'll have a second entry off the cul-de-sac there. You can see the darker blue-green colored areas are intended to be what we're calling open space easements on the lots, and in those areas the trees will be retained and act as buffers between the lots in the eastern side of the property and the large lot on the western side of the property, and of course also along the southern lots between us and the adjacent lots in Keller. So that's the idea behind that. There will be some common open space along Pearson Lane, which will provide kind of the screened buffer along there. Here's kind of a close-up of the entry, be divided entry with the gates, and it kind of show you how the existing trees, what's indicated here as trees are all existing trees that we had surveyed. And so this would be the entry coming in, and then as you come in, you'll be looking at the fronts of the homes on the other side of the street going left and right on this graphic. Here's our concept for how the architecture of the entry here with the gates and the stone. And then, of course, it will be flanked by wrought iron fences on either side of it that will go down up and down Pearson with stone columns every so often. Here's just some details of the entry design and what the wrought iron might look like.
What's the proposed setback for the gate from the road? You know?
It's enough to have a car come in there, and if they don't have automatic access, there will be a kiosk there that they can talk to and make a U-turn if they don't get access. So I don't have an exact number for you on that, but we've done these all over, and so it's going to be similar to other ones that have worked. Anyway, this is our plan. We've thought this through very carefully. In addition to the plan, there's going to be a very strict set of architectural standards that everyone's going to have to adhere to. There's going to be a pattern book that will be prepared that will guide homeowners and their architects and their builders through all of that. We see this as a very, very high-level development that we think will be very much in keeping with the town of Westlake. So, in case, I'd be happy to answer any detailed questions you have.
Have any questions?
Thank you.
What's the price point when you're looking at these?
We think they'll certainly start at about $3 million.
And the upper end is probably what?
No. Who knows as things go on, but you can easily see some $4 or $5 million homes or up in here, and I'm sure that on the 16-acre lot that will be in excess of $3 million.
And your concept of construction is to start when?
Well, as soon as we get approval here, assuming we do, then we'll go through the platting process and the detailed engineering process, and however long that takes and however long the approvals of all those detail drawings take, then we're going to get going as soon as we can.
Is there an intention to tie into the walking trails systems?
Yes, we have, and if you I go back to the entry plan, we're showing a sidewalk on the south side of the entry that crosses over Pearson to the there's a town trail on the east side of Pearson that we would tie directly into there. So yes, very much everyone would come through our internal streets and then exit right there at the entry and then tie into the town's trails.
Anything else you want to present?
That's it.
Corey, you have anything? No? Oh, no. Online one, I did not receive it.
Do we have a Craig Huggins that would like to speak on this item? Completed a speaker request.
No. I did not see that. We're going to open this up to a public hearing. And public hearing, come on up. Renee, come on up.
Ariana Billington.
Mike.
Okay. I just worry about congestion. I think it's beautiful. I actually just came here to listen, but 17 homes, already a lot of
Oh, it's an excellent point, actually. How wide are the roads themselves in the neighborhood, Troy?
In the proposed neighborhood?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I think she's worried about the congestion.
just congestion on Dove.
On Dove and Pearson itself?
The roads in the development are going to be 26 feet wide.
Okay.
But that's not what you're concerned.
There was a
with. Your
traffic
concern
impact
is
study
outside.
done.
There is, a single-family home produces about 10 trips per day, so you're looking in this development, a total of 170 trips total, with lot 16, the big 16-acre lot, actually they would have access to the road as well. So anyway, a maximum of the 170 trips coming in and out of the
But
development.
Ron, potentially with 34 acres, and we did half-acre lots, we could have 60 or 58 homes versus 17, right?
That's correct. The trips per day on this will be really low impact, and we made sure the street lined up with Wick Hill Street coming out of Wick Hill. So based on the impact analysis and our review of it, it didn't warrant a traffic signal or anything.
But your concern is this plus all the other developments down the road.
Yes, if there's if there's an emergency evacuation, we love these quaint roads that we have, but I'm just wondering, if it's 5 acres right now per, that's, roughly 7 homes. 17, that's a lot more traffic, so.
But it could be 60.
Or 60. So, yeah.
That's 4 times more than what's proposed.
Congestion wasn't brought up, but so I just.
No,
thought I'd
it's
bring
an
it up.
excellent point. You're worried about Westlake Ranch down the road and whatever Keller decides to do. Ron, do we ever do an aggregate of projections what Keller is going to do down that road?
Well, we've looked at try to look at ultimate projections of traffic in the future. Pearson Lane was originally going to kind of extend north and connect with Westlake Parkway, which the traffic's weird in how it works. When you create additional capacity or link roads up, it tends to attract more traffic. So in a strange way, sometimes removing a road or not adding capacity to a road restrict the flow of traffic to a certain level. Now, on the thoroughfare plan, Pearson still shows as eventually a 4-lane road with a section improvement at Dove and Pearson, which could be a roundabout or could be some other type of signalized intersection if that ever comes to that. But, Pearson, it does show up on a lot of regional transportation plans because nothing between 377 that goes north-south. But at this point in time, the way things are looking, Pearson's always going to stop at Dove Road. And capacity on Dove Road is really more of a quote-unquote $1 million question, is what will be the future capacity of Dove Road? Because of what the comp plan says, because of what the regional mobility plan says, all the anticipated growth.
Commercial growth.
Yeah, so that's something we're still going to have to work through. Go town develop. These are all good questions.
They are. No, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Ron, what's our criteria for streetlights? What is our criteria?
So the comprehensive plan lays out what the street lights should look like in the design facilities plan, and it's got a design
Yeah,
recommendation.
not the design, the need. How do we determine a need?
The subdivision ordinance basically says that street lights should be installed by the developer at their expense whenever a street is created.
I'm sorry, this is my fault. Red, amber, green light, a stoplight.
Oh, I'm sorry. As far as illumination goes.
Yeah, no, as
you're
far
talking-
as
I'm
putting
sorry,
one
traffic
in to
signal.
help direct traffic.
Okay.
I'm sorry, it's my fault.
Those require an engineering study to be done. It's called a warrant study.
Yeah.
And you can't just, they're not as easy, I think, to just put one in. So
I understand.
It does require a detailed warrant study to warrant the need for a traffic signal. It has to be done by an engineer.
But every time a new subdivision gets proposed, whether it's along Pearson or anywhere in Westlake, I mean, are we always required to go back and do another impact analysis for traffic so we don't get to a position where, we overburden the roads?
It would be always wise, really through our comprehensive plan process, that you should really update your comp plans about every 5 years. As part of that, look at your transportation and traffic network. Interesting thing about this part of Westlake, with Westlake Ranch being approved, and if this gets approved, you're looking at about 35 additional units coming online that necessarily show up the first time around on the comprehensive plan. I would say, though, grand scheme of things, that's a low impact on the roadway system, just because it's not that many units. Again, looking at it aggregately, but we're due for another comprehensive plan update. I think this is something that's worth looking at. More specifically, Dove Road, I think, is the road that we want to take another look at in terms of what the comp plan recommends versus what the town wants moving forward.
That's what I'm concerned about. Mornings, school, that road is jammed. The offices are, Deloitte and Schwab, and Fidelity, they're not at capacity yet.
That's correct.
That's why I asked the question about the traffic light.
And how Dove or Ottinger connects over to the west side of the town eventually is working with Hillwood. Take a good look.
Yeah, it's a huge issue.
All right. We have Marcus Novacek.
Marcus Novacek, 1409 Post Oak. I wasn't planning on speaking either. I think my main concern is just reiterate that congestion. I think oftentimes in these, the developer, and maybe this was already hashed out at a previous session and I missed it, but I think we automatically jump to the then. It's an if-then statement. It's like, if we rezone, then it becomes this. And I think oftentimes there's not this discussion of why. Why should we do this approval? I mean, we heard that it's in congruency with the surrounding areas, but to me, I didn't hear a compelling reason as to why it should change. Like, to me, that the burden of proof should be that there has to be a really good reason to get 68 homes there instead of 17, versus just adding developers. Now, if it's tax revenue, if there's a shortage of housing, like, okay, sure, those are all compelling reasons, but to me, it just seems like we're kind of glossing over that and going straight to 68 homes.
That's a good question, actually. Ron, to that point, when we talk about the master plan for Westlake, I mean, does that assume there is going to be rezoning of some of these existing lots when we look at future potential? Or are we, as Mr. Novacek suggesting, actually changing what we had initially believed was going to be the forward-looking.
The short answer to that is yes, it did assume that some of this was going to be rezoned because the comprehensive plan, what it did, built in a maximum build-out number of existing zoning entitlements that were out there when the comprehensive plan. Some of those, though, will never come to fruition. A lot of those are wrapped up in planned development district ordinances that are in the Circle T Ranch. Some are in straight zoned areas, R1 or R2, that are not ever going to develop as R1 or R2. So it kind of leaves a bonus. We're several hundred units below that threshold of maximum, or what the maximum population that would be based on. So what the comprehensive plan did in these pastoral areas, I would prefer it to be a little more specific, but it talks about how you can take the density, add more units as long as it doesn't go over one dwelling unit. It just doesn't go, it doesn't focus in on these R5 areas. So when council considered Westlake Ranch, it actually initially came in at about 100 lots and whittled down to 36 because of a lot of these concerns. There wasn't an adequate water or sewer capacity down there. In some cases, there was no sewer at all. Then you had roadway capacity issues. So a lot of that got addressed through types of issues that out. But in this case, the property owner is meeting the basic goalposts that are in the comprehensive plan. And because it is only 17 lots, it doesn't really go over thresholds as far as needing further study for traffic impact analysis. Is able to, our utility system, it's able to meet the capacity requirements for that.
Ron, how old's our comprehensive plan?
It was approved in 2015.
When are we due to update that?
We're
Now?
due now.
But
And is that on our agenda? I'm sorry. Is that on our plate?
It's on the to-do list, and that's something we've talked about a little bit with the Planning and Zoning. I think this year is definitely a good time to take an in-depth look at that and see how
It
we want.
starts with P&Z?
P&Z is that their task is to, one of their tasks is to make recommendations on that. Council will ultimately.
Okay.
Sometimes that can involve creating a steering committee. There's all different ways to slice the apple on that. Something we could talk about definitely, though.
But do you, just coming back to this particular issue, I mean, do you feel this is in keeping with the general vision of Westlake in terms of the change in density request here, traffic impact? I mean, do you feel this is all part of the sort of current master plan? I know we'll revisit it.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Normally, with Westlake Ranch, there was a significant amount of open space that was dedicated. You also saw that with the Knolls. But when you're going to 1 acre lots and larger, and the comprehensive plan actually talks about this, you're creating recreational capacity with that lot size where you can put bigger pools and you can do your private amenities on larger lots. So the need for parkland dedication is not quite as large, especially if it's only 17 units.
Yeah.
Again, you've got somewhat minimal impact here with such density is so low, around half a unit. But it's having a minimal.
One thing we got to think about, and Marcus, and thank you for bringing up the density, but to put it in perspective, Entrada, there's a tenth of an acre lots that are being sold for $550,000, tenth of an acre. So there is a lot of high density stuff. I mean, it'd be great to see 5 acre lots here, but the fact that they're taking out 16 of it for a personal residence, I think there could be a lot of scenarios that are worse. But Marcus, I agree with what you're saying. Is like, hey, if we're going to make a change, bring us something. The only other concern I'll say is there's a resident of Westlake, Terry Wilkinson, that developed a third of Tiburon. And when I first showed him these plans, the only other area around town that's kind of like this is with the houses facing the front is on Carroll, just south of Central Market on the other side. and that was a kind of a slower selling subdivision. And then the final thing I'll say is, why 4,500 square foot when we could bump it to 55 or 6,000 square foot? I mean, 4,500 square foot house could fit so easily on a 1 acre lot. And you know, I'm kind of both ways on this. I know that you all have owned this land for a while. I know that you've had some challenge developing it in the past, but those are just a couple of concerns. Because the only other subdivision around here that has the houses facing the road is on Carroll, and that was a very slow selling project. So,
Yeah, I think on Sam's School Road, don't they also? Is it the South Lake Meadows?
That's
They have-
correct. And
they have
that's
front
what we were
facing.
trying to recommend. So the initial plans we got showed had more of a slip road feel
Yeah, I
to it.
saw your pushback on the comments in the agenda items, and I think they did push the roads back, correct?
They did.
Yeah, to address some of that. But Ron, I mean, how do you feel this is in keeping? I mean, you made a couple of proposed amendments to.
Yes, in all honesty, I would say that this meets the intent of the comprehensive plan. I would put it at a kind of a minimal level. You know, again, the comprehensive plan provides broad brush strokes.
Right.
Just to kind of give the council an idea of how decision making would have been done in the past. You know, we had Robin McCaffrey was involved with the comprehensive plan approval in 2015. His firm was contracted for it. So Robin would always consult in situations like this. He would provide a lot of urban design expertise. He was actually very experienced at that. So you know, sometimes it helped to have Robin as a comprehensive plan interpreter
Yeah.
to kind of better lay out what the vision of the comprehensive plan was. Me, as a long-term professional planner, I like to have a little more, I like to create things that if I was to be abducted by aliens tomorrow, somebody could come in behind me and understand exactly what the intent is, what the message is that we're trying to get to.
Right.
I feel like the comprehensive plan, that's some low-hanging fruit as we go through an update process that we can probably add a little bit to moving forward.
The main lot on this, the 16 acres, in 10 years, could someone come back and split that up?
They'd have to rezone the property to do it. That would require Planning and Zoning Commission, council approval, 2 public hearings to happen.
and Ron, obviously this went through planning and zoning, or we wouldn't be seeing it, correct?
That's correct.
And what was the commentary and pushback or the questions that the commissioners asked in planning and zoning about this property?
There was a question about some of the lot setbacks being so close to Pearson Lane. Other than that, there really
Are any of these lots pre-sold right now? Do you know? Do you have any questions? Concerns? All right. Well, we have to close the public hearing. We've left it open there. Does anyone have any comments before we close it? No? And so we need to open up reviewing the strategic plan again, comprehensive plan. Because, I mean, this is a small one, but there's probably a lot more coming. And we need to be ahead of that.
Yeah, the pressure to create new lots will always be there, especially when you look at an aerial photo of Westlake and see kind of a green island and a sea of less green.
Well, I mean, if you read through the South Lake Wikipedia page, they go through their development, and they said originally lots were like an acre and a half, then they went to an acre, then 2/3 and a half, then down to a third, and now they're at 0 lot line. I would hate to see Westlake go to 0 lot line. We're already there with Entrada, but the rest of it is not exactly that. And so, all right, close out this public hearing. Can I get a motion to approve?
I want to clarify, Ron, just so we're clear in terms of what we're being asked to approve today versus what would still have to come back for future approval. Could you just clarify that for us?
As far as the next steps,
Yeah.
zoning were approved. So the next steps would be we need to do a development agreement and typically do an economic development agreement that, following standard protocol, gets into academy types of things. Then subdivision plat, which would be preliminary, and then final plat. Typically, we'll do the development agreement and do the preliminary site evaluation, which is preliminary plat. At the same time, the civil construction plans, those get approved. Get the green light, they start developing.
How long is
site.
that process to take?
Really kind of depends on how quickly they can turn around their civil construction plan. All the documentation back to us, review it. Probably 6 months, give or take.
Any other questions?
Okay, yeah, so it's just the concept that we're voting on right now.
That's correct.
And in the future, we could ask for more square footage or changes, or is this locked in stone now?
That's going to be locked in through the zoning ordinance. Now, they are going to bring design guidelines back for council approval, which are the detailed architectural design guidelines, and those a lot more detail. The way the design of the homes is going to look. Sometimes they'll have more restrictive standards. One thing about the minimum home size, 4,500 square feet, high for a zoning ordinance.
Not in Westlake.
When I mean zoning, I mean regulatory ordinance. You don't want to go too high on minimum square footage sizes just because of fair housing requirements. But in Westlake, I mean, those are just minimums.
What was Quail minimum? Because I think I know that answer.
So Quail's straight zoned, so it falls into the straight zoning requirements in the Code of Ordinance, which is, I believe, 2,000 square feet. But the market
On the lot in
says
there, I
that's
think
going
it's
to be a lot
6,000.
bigger.
No, I think their ARB that they have, 4,500 is a minimum. I believe it is.
Oh, on the architectural design
Yeah,
requirements?
I believe that's
Yeah,
your
it's
minimum.
much higher than what the zoning requires.
But the actual
But
executed.
because zoning is a government-approved regulation, falls into some tighter parameters that get into case law from the fair housing and HUD and things like that. That's where I would always caution on zoning going real high on minimum.
Okay. But you think Quail was what?
I don't know exactly, but it's higher, much higher than the zoning. Probably 4,000 or 5,000.
Pretty sure they're minimum. Any other questions? Concerns? All right. Public hearing's closed. Can I get a motion to approve? Can I get first?
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right. That's the end of our public hearings, I believe. And then we have regular items. Chief, how long do you need, do you think? Make it 3. Let's take a quick 5-minute break, and then we'll get into your stuff, and then go from there.
That was efficient government just now. Great.